Today we're going to talk about an American painter that could rival the charm and kindness of Mr. Rogers.
You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you.
Today we're going to be talking about a legendary painter, Bob Ross.
I'm back. Certainly glad to see you today. It's a fantastic day here, and I hope it is wherever you're at.
Who is Bob Ross? Usually when we talk about an artist, we talk about them breaking boundaries, breaking creative boundaries, talking about social injustices, talking about all of these different things that were revolutionary for their time. But actually, Bob Ross didn't do anything revolutionary or anything new. He didn't tread new ground. He was just a painter. He was just an American painter. But what he did was simply mesmerizing. So what did Bob Ross even do then, if he didn't tread new ground and start a movement or anything with his art? So what did he do? He painted landscapes, nature scenes, and very, very beautiful paintings he painted with oil paints. He used oil paints and he painted on the canvas, but he didn't wait for the paint to dry after applying each layer. The technique was called wet on wet. He didn't wait for each layer to dry, he didn't wait for anything dry, he just painted on each layer. And he blended each color, and he did all of his types of blending and painting with oil paints. So what did Bob Ross do besides nature? And when I say he only did landscapes and nature scenes, I'm not kidding. That's all he did. He didn't paint anything else. He was inspired by nature.
Just like that. You can make all kinds of happy little things. Just think about the sound that a little bubbling stream makes as it works its way down. It goes over all the rocks. It's to one of the nicest sounds in nature. Just bubbles and churns and has fun. I've always wanted a house right beside a little stream so I could listen all night to all the little sounds it makes. There we go.
So every painting that Bob Ross did was inspired by nature. Do you notice a common element in all of Bob Ross's paintings? I'm not talking about the mountains and the rivers and the trees. What other common element do you see in Bob Ross's paintings? Well, Bob Ross never painted people in his paintings. He never even painted animals. But despite not painting animals, Bob Ross loved wildlife.
Aren't they the most precious little characters you've ever seen? Yeah, poor guy. He hadn't had nothing to eat for years. You could feed them 10 times a day, and they'll always be just about this hungry. Hey, I have to go to work. Yeah, I have to go to work. Okay? All right, I'm going to set him right over here and let him finish lunch. And while he's doing that, we'll just get started.
He would occasionally present animals in his shows. So sometimes you would have a squirrel, sometimes you would have a deer, like a video of a deer or something, some type of animal he would showcase in his videos sometimes. So while he was painting, sometimes an animal guest would come on, because Bob Ross was just very in love with nature and wildlife and just the beauty that brings. And I think that's just wonderful that he was just so in love with nature and he wanted to capture that on canvas. And I don't know if you would believe me, but Bob Ross wasn't just a painter. Bob Ross just didn't paint these gorgeous landscape paintings. He was also a teacher. He taught for many decades, but for 11 years he taught a show called The Joy of Painting. Bob Ross taught the joy of painting with a calm and soothing voice. With his calm voice and demeanor, his lessons became a relaxing and calm environment to learn and make mistakes while painting. But actually, Bob Ross never believed we made mistakes. He believed we made happy accidents.
I think in one of the earlier shows I mentioned, we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
And by saying we only make happy accidents, he lets us have room to make mistakes without feeling like we messed up. Without feeling that we messed up this thing, because actually everyone makes mistakes. And if you can just make a mistake and then move on with it, by calling it a happy accident, we can learn from those mistakes. And Bob Ross believed that mistakes was a normal part of life. This is what Bob Ross had to say about it.
Sometimes you learn more from mistakes than you do from trying so hard. So anytime you make a mistake, before you get upset with it, look at it. Sometimes those mistakes turn into be the best learning devices we have. There we are.
This positive way of thinking doesn't just apply to art. If we apply this to our life, by learning from our mistakes, we can become better people. Because just like in art, if we learn by making mistakes, we learn by trial and error. We are constantly learning and learning from our mistakes. But if we call them happy accidents, like Bob Ross does, we have more of a chance to think of it as a more positive thing. That positive way that we're always learning, always becoming better people because of the mistakes we've made or happy accidents. And I think that's just a wonderful thing. Bob Ross doesn't just teach us how to become artists, but he also teaches us how to become better people by learning these ideas and thoughts that are usually not really talked about. If you have watched more than one episode of The Joy of Painting, then you know Bob Ross wasn't a stranger to philosophical and thought-provoking ideas. Many inspiring and thought-provoking ideas came while Bob Ross was just teaching us how to paint.
There, this is just dark color, so we can put a lighter color on top of it later. It'll stand out. You absolutely have to have dark in order to have light. Gotta have dark. Gotta have opposites, dark and light and dark, continually in painting. If you have light on light, you have nothing. If you have dark on dark, you basically have nothing. There we are. You know, it's like in life. You gotta have a little sadness once in a while so you know when the good times come. I'm waiting on the good times now.
And that's what I believe made Bob Ross endearing for so many years. That's why I believe that even now, we still are talking about Bob Ross. Because he didn't just teach painting. He just didn't teach us how to draw or, create a landscape painting. He also sprinkled in a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of these thought-provoking ideas. So he wasn't just teaching us how to paint, because anybody can really teach you how to do something. But not everybody really has the insight or the openness to really accept these ideas. Bob Ross didn't just teach us how to paint. He taught us to look at life in a positive way. Within the 11 years of teaching the joy of painting, Bob Ross painted over 30,000 paintings. 30,000 paintings. That's a whole lot of paintings. And what do you think happened with all of those paintings? What do you think Bob Ross did with all of them? Well, he didn't sell them. He didn't want to make money off of the paintings, off of the joy that he had painting them. He didn't sell his paintings. He actually donated some of them, but most of his paintings are still sitting somewhere in boxes. And in the Google Classroom, there was a video showing where his paintings are right now. And I believe that's what made Bob Ross so special. He wasn't just an art teacher. He wasn't just an artist. He wasn't out to make money. He was just a guy in love with painting and in love with life. And he wanted to share some of that joy of painting with us. And that's why I believe that Bob Ross and his little trees will forever be remembered. In this lesson, you are going to be painting like Bob Ross. Bob Ross uses a technique called wet on wet. He doesn't use acrylic paints like we're going to be using in this lesson. So I used what I had at home, acrylic paints. And this is what I got out of it. So this is my painting that I did with Bob Ross of his video. So as you can see, the trees, the happy little trees. You can see the mountains, the sunset, and all that. And I did this with just what I had at home. Oil paints are easier to blend together, so that's why the acrylic right here was like a big splash of white here. It's because in the video, he blended it even further than what I could have done with acrylic. But look what I created with what I had at home. So it doesn't matter what you really have. It's just the passion that you put onto it. Because Bob Ross always said that if you come to your painting with just good feelings and positive energy, that whatever you put onto the canvas will be beautiful. And look, I mean, I would think my painting is pretty beautiful with the mountains and trees and stuff, but it's not, it's not perfect. I improvised with some of the things. So, and that's what Bob Ross teaches. It's whatever you want to do while you're painting of him. You don't have to follow him 100%, because he teaches us that he teaches us to do whatever makes us happy. So he's always said this before, that if you don't want trees, don't put trees. If you don't want clouds, don't put clouds. Bob Ross doesn't paint animals or people, but Bob Ross is going to tell you not to do that. So if you want to, you could put people down here, up here, or whatever. So this is what I did. I followed pretty faithfully to what Bob Ross did. I kind of changed some stuff up just a little bit. But this is what I did with acrylic paints. And this is what you're going to be doing also. In the Google Classroom, there will be a slideshow showing you what I used to paint this and what colors and tools that I've used. There will also be a list of what Bob Ross uses in his paintings. So if you wanted to down the line, I don't recommend it now, you can go out and buy what Bob Ross uses, the brushes and the paints and all that. But for right now, we're just going to be using acrylic paints with what we have at home. So I'm really excited. I really hope that you have a relaxing and calm painting session with Bob Ross, because it's all about just being calm with it. Don't be upset if you make a mistake, because we don't make mistakes. We make happy accidents, right? So if I messed up a cloud, it's not a mistake, right? I didn't mess it up. It was just a happy accident, and you can continue to add to it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this lesson, and I can't wait to see you Bob Ross paintings. Alright, bye.